It's my mid-month wrap-up video and I am so excited. And welcome to another vlog with Bookish with Mariah. I am so hyped today, and because I'm going to be filming my mid-month wrap-up. The reason why I'm so excited about this month is because this is the first time I've literally held myself accountable for my reading, and I have stayed on track with my goals and how I wanted to read this month and the books I wanted to read this month. In the past, like before I started BookTube, I was pretty much like a mood reader, and I really wasn't happy with my progress with my reading. Like, I had so many books I wanted to read and I just wasn't able to get to them because I was never on a schedule. I never had a goal in mind. Like, it just kind of felt like I was just collecting a lot of books and never getting to them. So with this month, I have been able, well, starting last month, because that's when I started my BookTube channel, I started to slowly put myself on a schedule and make goals. Well, this month is the biggest goal I've ever had. My challenge is to read 9 books this month, and I am so excited because I'm on track to do so, even with it being the busiest month of the year for me. Because again, you all, if you haven't seen my last couple videos where I talked about this, I work in higher education and all of my students are coming back to campus, and I have been working non-stop on a university campus trying to make sure I maintain that, plus my BookTube life, and also so many other things that I'm managing. So, oh my gosh, I'm so excited to talk to you all about the books that I read, because I have loved all of the books that I've read. Spoiler alert. So just know this is not going to be a video of me bashing any of the books that I read, because I have loved them and they have been great. Alright, so I was debating on how I wanted to do this mid-month wrap-up, if I wanted to rank them from like most loved to like the top to the bottom or something like that, on how I enjoyed the books. But I'm not gonna do that. I'm actually gonna wait until I do my final wrap up at the end of the month to kind of rank the stars that I gave the books, and also to talk about like the ranking that I wanted to do them from, like my top, my most favorite book, and then the book I didn't like as much. I want to read all the books before I do that, so I won't have any star ratings in this book mini wrap up, but I am going to talk to you all about the books that I read and how I felt about them, at least a little bit, a little tidbit, and just kind of talk to you all about where I am with my reading, and I'm going to talk to you all about what I'm going to be reading this week. So the first book I read this month, I read it with Shelf Space Book Club, which I have talked to you all about that so many times. It's with Jessie May. Shelf Space Book Club is her book club. I'm going to leave the link below to her website for the book club. So if you're interested in still joining on, you have plenty of time to join on this month for the month of August and read the book. So the book that we read for this month, oh my gosh, it's The City We Became by N.K. Jemisin. As you can see, I have tabbed this book. I absolutely loved it, and I cannot wait to talk to you all about this book. I'm actually going to do a separate video. Like, that's how much I loved it. I'm literally going to do a separate book review about this book because I thought it was phenomenal. Like, you all, it takes place in New York, and each person literally that is chosen, they become a borough of New York, so they embody the city that they are from. So you have the Queens, you have Manhattan, you have like Brooklyn, Staten Island, did I say Manhattan? It's 5 of them, you all. I'm sure I'm leaving someone out, but basically you have 5 boroughs of New York, and the people become like a part of the city, and they are the embodiment of that city. Like, they literally become the city, so they can feel what's going on in the city. They can feel when newcomers come into the city. They can feel when something is trying to attack the city, or historical monuments in the city are being destroyed. Like, they can feel when the city is changing. And so they basically, these 5 people get together, and they are trying to fight an evil that a lot of people cannot see, that is trying to take over the city. It's insane. Like, I love it. This book dealt with so many different social justice issues. It dealt with so much when it comes to like women's rights and racial issues and just anything that you could think of, issues in the LGBTQIA community, like discrimination in that community. And it touched on so many things that really truly touched my heart, and I felt like I loved how N.K. Jemisin addressed those things and done it in such a really nice way. Like, it was wonderful. All of the issues that's addressed in here wasn't overbearing. Everything kind of flowed. N.K. Jemisin, I will say, does have a writing style that may not be for everybody. I will say, when you read this book, the first 100 pages, it kind of takes you back a little bit because you're like, wait, what happened? So once you get past the first 100 pages, in my opinion, I feel like the book really picks up and gets its stride. But it's very beautifully done. The evil that's in this book, I love all the symbolism that's used, because there's this evil that's taken over this New York, and basically when that evil takes over a city, the city dies and is completely destroyed, and the people that's in it, and they're trying to fight that evil and stop it from destroying New York, and it is fabulous. Another thing I want to point out about the city we became is just the artistry in here. I loved the way that music was used in here and art was used in this book, and I honestly felt like this was a really good book to start out in the month of August, and I had a really strong reading month, and I feel like it was because of the way I started. This book was a excellent first choice, and I am so excited. Please pick it up. N.K. Jemisin writing is wonderful, but like I said, it's not for everyone. But just know I enjoyed this book. I don't know if you can tell what I might rate this book by the end of the month when I do my full month wrap up, but it's high up there if I'm doing a separate video for this book. I can't rant about this enough, so I'm gonna rant about it in a whole separate video because that's just how much I loved it. Alright, so the second book that I read this month is another book I absolutely enjoyed, and that is Strange the Dreamer by Lani Taylor. This one was wonderful. This is my biggest book of the month. It's 500 plus pages. I flew through it because I loved it. And you know what? One of the things I love so much about this book was the characters. I really enjoyed the character development in these books. Well, in this book, it is multiple books to this one. There's a second one to this book, and I'm definitely going to read it. But in this one in particular, the character development I felt was so strong, and the world building was so strong. Like, I felt like I could see everything that was going on in this world. So this follows the story of Lazo, who is a dreamer. He has always had a curious mind ever since he was very young. He grew up in an orphanage, or not an orphanage, I'm sorry. He actually grew up in a monastery, and he was raised by monks, and he gets the opportunity to go to a library to deliver something, but he ends up living there. And in doing that, he grows up in that library, and he's been told stories about the city of Weep, which is an ancient city that nobody has been to in a very long time. If you think of the city of Weep, think of like the story of Atlantis. You know, I grew up hearing stories about Atlantis. It's an ancient city, it's a mysterious city, and it's somewhere I've always wanted to visit, but you know, no one knows where it is. And that's the same way with Weep. It feels like that. And with the city of Weep, you have these mystical creatures that lived in the city of Weep with magic and different types of things like that. And so Lazo has studied the city of Weep his whole entire life. And one day someone comes to the library, can't say who, someone comes to the library and gives people the opportunity to visit the city of Weep on a expedition, and they're only taking the top scholars and the top people to go on this trip. And of course he wants to go because that's his life work, is studying the city of Weep. And it gets so complicated, and I want to say I love how Lazo makes connections in this story. He ends up making a connection that I felt was so beautifully done. The love in this book, like the love interest in this book was so beautifully done. Like their story together was so beautifully done. And oh my gosh, just imagining this and the love story, I just felt so wonderful just reading it. Like, I just thought it was great. It was really refreshing. I even cried over this book because of what happened. There were some things that happened in there, and I was like, oh, I'm emotional, but it was just so good. So I can't wait to read the second book. I pray it was just as good as the first. This one was a really great start to August, and I'm so happy I picked it up. Alright, so the third book I picked up this month, which I was reading this book for a book club that I'm a part of as well. It is called Simply Me, or no, it's Simply We Read Book Club, sorry. It's Simply We Read Book Club, and it is ran by Kaylani Simply Me. And the book that we read for this month, for the month of August, is Scythe by Neil Schusterman. I'm so happy that I was able to finally pick this one up. It's actually been sitting on my bookshelf for like a while, and I just had not picked it up. And honestly, it wasn't even still at the top of my list of books that I was going to pick up. So I'm so happy that I joined that book club because I was able to pick this book up, and I'm so happy that I did. If you're interested in joining the book club and still getting in on the fun, you can absolutely click the link below this video so you can join the book club. And there's also a Discord server so we can chat about the book throughout the month, and that's been a lot of fun. Same way with Jessie Mae's book club, there's a Discord server. You can chat about the books for the month, and it's been so much fun. So Scythe is like a post-apocalyptic book. You are following two characters. You have Citra and you have Rowan, who are high school students that's basically trying to live a pretty typical life for a high schooler. But in this book and in this world, you have basically a government that's have completely beat death. Like, you can't die anymore. You can't die anymore in this world. There's no cancer, there's no disease, there's no car accidents. If things happen and you die, let's say you decide to just jump off a building. You jump off that building and you go to what they call a revival center, and they will revive you and bring you back to life. So you cannot die from natural causes. You literally cannot die. And you have people that live to be like, what, 100 and something years old, and then they basically are able to set back their age to the age they want to be. So if I get 100 and then I all of a sudden decide I want to be 25, I can turn a corner and now I'm 25 years old again, which is insane because you have mothers that are older or younger than their mom, like, you know, because people are resetting their age so much and you can't die. The only way you can die is by getting killed by a scythe, and a scythe is someone that has control of death, and they pretty much pick people to die because they have to meet a quota every year on how many people that dies. And so they have different ways. Every scythe is different. They have different ways to how they select people to eventually die. So Citra and Rowan are selected to become apprentices to a scythe, and it comes as a complete surprise to them, and the way that it happens and all of the trials and tribulations that they have to go through is insane. And actually the ending of this book almost took me out. Like, I cannot wait to read the second book. I actually do own the second book, so I'm so happy to read Thunderhead because there's 3 books in this trilogy. You have Scythe, Thunderhead, and I think the other one is Troll, Toll, something like that. But I just know that I'm going to be reading all 3 because if the first one started strong like this, I cannot wait to get to the next book. But I highly suggest picking it up. Of course, trigger warnings for death. It does get kind of brutal when it comes to the death and the way some of the people die in this book. Even from the first like 10 or 15 pages, somebody died, and I was like, whoa, wasn't expecting that from the beginning. So I would say trigger warnings for that. If that bothers you, then maybe don't pick it up. But other than that, it was stellar. It was stellar, and I could not believe how much I loved this book. I wasn't expecting it to love it as much as I did, but I loved it. And I told you all this in a previous video. I think I really enjoy post-apocalyptic books. I really do. Like, some of my favorite ones are post-apocalyptic. So this one was wonderful, and I highly recommend it. All right, so for the 4th book that I read this month is 3 Dark Crowns by Kadari Blake. This is, I feel like, a trilogy, but I think there may be a 4th book that I'm forgetting. But I know there's several books after this. This one, I would say it was okay. I liked it. And, you know, I just have some feelings about it for a couple of things. But I'm going to save that for my end of the month video. But there's a couple little things, couple issues I had with this one, but I still liked it. So it's taking place in like a magical kingdom. You have you have 3 sisters. One of them is a poisoner, one of them is like a naturalist, and then you have the other sister that deals well with a lot of like elements. Well, in this book, every so often, every so many centuries or years or however long, you have triplets that are born in this kingdom. And when those triplets are gone, what is my lighting doing? It's like the sun is really bright. Every so often when those triplets are born, then they are chosen to go to different kingdoms based off of what their power is that they have, their gift. They call it a gift, based off of what their gift is. And in doing that, all 3 of the sisters at a very young age are sent away to different parts of the kingdom. So if one of the girls is a poisoner, she goes to the poisoner part of the kingdom. If they're a naturalist, they go to the naturalist part of the kingdom, and so forth. Those three sisters will train and train and train all the way until they're 16 years old, and when they become 16 years old, then they will fight to the death, and whichever queen comes out victorious, well, princess, whichever princess will come out victorious, they will be the queen. And so the other two sisters have to die in order for there to be one queen. And it's really unfortunate because, you know, what if the sisters really love each other and don't want to kill each other? You know, it's just so sad to think about. Basically, these girls are on a countdown till they're 16 years old, and then they're going to be killed. So everybody that's around them that's gotten attached to these sisters, to each individual person, they're basically, those people are going to be ripped out of their lives because they're counting down for these girls to die, and they have to kill each other. And so you follow each girl in different perspectives. So in following each girl in different perspectives, you get to see how they feel and just follow their emotions leading up to the time where they have to murder one of their sisters, like, well, both of their sisters, and basically the politics that goes in, that's being played around the kingdom, and the little side drama that's going on. I liked this book, and I actually liked it enough to where I am going to read the second book. So we will see. The small issues that I had in this book, I'm hoping is going to be worked out in the second one. And again, those issues I will talk to you about at the end of the month with my big wrap up. But just know, I thought this one was good. Would I recommend it to people? Yes. I will say trigger warnings in this book is obviously murder. Obviously murder. Let me think. I don't think there was anything else that was like a real bad trigger besides just the way people die in this book. People do die, or there is like some brutal parts in the book. It's a little Game of Thrones-ish, just a little bit, but it's harsh punishments in this book that I felt like was like really cringe-worthy. So yeah, trigger warnings for that. But overall, I felt like it was a solid read. It was a solid first book, and it did get me interested enough to pick up the second one, so I plan to. All right, so the last and final book that I read this month, which was the fifth book I read for the month of August, is the novella. It's the Fracture Me. So it's a tiny novella that's a part of the Shatter Me series, and if you follow my channel enough since the beginning, you all know that I love the Shatter Me series so far, and I read the novella. This is book 2.5 in the Fracture Me series. I read it's called Fracture Me in the Shatter Me series. Sorry, it's the 2.5 book in the Shatter Me series. And the book that I read is Fracture Me. This novella is 2 books in one. So I've already read Destroy Me before. And so right now I read the Fracture Me, which is book 2.5. And it's following the perspective of one of the main characters. And I was really excited. I won't tell you which main character this book follows the perspective of, because that's actually a spoiler. Because you're going to be like, oh, that person survived or didn't survive or whatever, so I don't want to ruin it for anybody. But I would say it was a great novella, and I really love that Tahiri Mafi does these novellas, because you get to follow the perspective of different characters and you get to see their mindset and what they're thinking and what they're going through and how they're processing stuff that's happening. Because honestly, woo, this series, there's so much going on in these books. So I love that she takes the time to give you a different perspective besides the main character, who is Juliet in this story. So I loved it. If you're reading the Shatter Me series, I would recommend that you pick up the novellas, because they are a lot of fun, easy reads. This one was just 200 pages, so I was able to finish it in one day, and I highly suggest picking those up in between, because I know some people that will just read the books, the regular books, and hey, it's not required that you read the novellas. You don't miss out on a whole lot, but I will say you're kind of doing yourself a little bit of a disservice, because the perspectives that you get in this book is wonderful. And from reading Destroy Me, which is one of the novellas, I was able to gain much more respect for one of the characters that's in this book based off of that novella. So far, this has been a great reading month for me, and I'm so happy with the selections that I chose. I've been really excited about reading these books, and I really have enjoyed them. Obviously, you could tell the ones that I loved and the ones that I'm just like, okay, I liked it. And I really am happy to see where the rest of this month is going. So for the month of August, I still have 4 more books left, like I stated before, to get to for my TBR. So this week, I'm actually reading Clap When You Land. As you can see, I've already started it, and I'm really excited to read it. It's by Elizabeth Acevedo, and it's my very first book by her to read, so I'm so hyped. And I'm also reading this week Ignite Me, which is the 3rd book in the Shatter Me series. So A lot of people said this is one of the best ones, so I cannot wait to see what happens in here. So I'm reading these 2 books at the same time. I normally read 2 books at the same time. I don't go over that because that's just a comfortable number for me. So I'm reading these 2 right now. And then next week, starting maybe next Monday or Tuesday, I'm going to be reading the last 2 books on my TBR for August, and that is Far From the Tree by Robin Benway and The Cruel Prince by Holly Black. So I'm really getting through my August TBR. I'm hoping that I can stick to all of my goals for this month, but so far I might. I'm on track to do so. I've already read 5 books this month, so I'm chugging along and getting to my last 4, and I'm really excited. So thank you all so much for following me and tuning in for this video. Please make sure that you follow me on Instagram, please, because I love to join the chat there. Recently, I've gained some more Instagram followers, so thank you so much for following me on Instagram and also on my YouTube channel. Thank you all so much. I can't thank you enough for subscribing to my channel because I genuinely love to do these videos and I love to rant about books. So look out for more videos coming soon. September, oh my gosh, I'm involved in a readathon. I'm involved, which the readathon that I'm involved in, you all, it is so exciting. So exciting. It's an Alice in Wonderland theme readathon, and I'm actually planning a trip to hopefully visit like a site here in Atlanta that's themed with Alice in Wonderland and filming a reading vlog for it. So it's gonna be so much fun. I'm a part of book clubs. I got so much coming up, so please stay tuned to my channel and follow me because it's gonna be so much fun, and I cannot wait to see you all in the next video. Okay, bye.